Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for this yoga practice to celebrate the Aquarius new moon as well as the Lunar New Year. Aquarius, an air sign represented by the water bearer, can initiate feelings of intellect, creativity, and rationality. It's a great time for planning or taking those first steps into new projects. As we approach Imbolc, it is the halfway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, and it can be a good time to consider what seeds of intention we would like to plant before the new season. Don't think of this time as action, but more of a time to clear out the old unhelpful thought patterns to create space for the new intentions to grow. With that in mind, today's practice will focus on clarity of the mind, working with the third eye and crown chakra to create space and awareness within our thoughts. If you wanted to bring along any crystals, amethyst, labradorite or clear quartz would suit well, and some essential oils could include clary sage, rosemary or lavender. When you're ready, let's begin. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining for this Aquarius new moon yoga practice. So we're actually going to start today in a child's pose with the forehead connected to the floor or to a prop. So if your forehead doesn't quite touch the floor, you can bring it to a pillow, or you can make a little pillow with your hands, creating a little foundation here. If you're happy, you're pretty comfortable with your child's pose, then I'm going to recommend you bring your arms out straight, elbows are shoulder width apart, and then bend your elbows to bring either the thumbs towards the back of the neck, or you can interlace your fingers to the back of the head, creating this nice opening through your shoulders, through your chest. And we remind ourselves of our intention for today's practice, and to create a clear mind, to find clarity of thoughts, and to create a new pathway in which we can start to transition into this new year with the Lunar New Year, and to create clarity of the mind, to just get rid of all of that clutter we've been holding on to in the previous year. And so with that in mind, you can either just visualize a small window in your mind's eye, so just between your eyebrows and slightly up into the center of your forehead. You can imagine yourself peering out this window and just noticing the world from an impartial place as we observe. You could also repeat to yourself the affirmation, "With a clear mind, I see the world with a fresh perspective." With a clear mind, I see the world with a fresh perspective. And I want you to keep your awareness in this space in the very center of your forehead, just in your third eye center during the practice today. Try to visualize this practice from an impartial place. So we try to imagine that we are seeing the world through clarity and through this third eye center. With that in mind, we take another deep breath in and a deep breath out. As we inhale, bring your shoulders over your wrists onto hands and knees into a tabletop position, inhaling. And then as we exhale, we're going to walk our hands forward into heart melting pose, palms shoulder width, or you can grab the outer edge of your yoga mat. If you want to take it a little bit deeper into the shoulders, you can tent your fingers. Or you can even bring your hands to blocks if those are available. Take another breath. Exhale fully. And then from here, just gently walk your hands back so your shoulders are once again over your wrists. And we're going to come to a kneeling position. Sit your hips to your heels. If that's uncomfortable, you can just come to a seat. And we're just going to take a nice little scooping motion. So we're going to inhale, bring the arms out nice and wide. As we exhale, we're going to round the spine, bringing your chin towards your chest. Inhale, open, cactus the arms, maybe lift your chin. And then as you exhale, round. Bring your palms towards the center. Inhale. Last time, exhale, round. Inhale, open the arms, and then release them down to your knees or towards your lap. And we're just going to take some little neck rolls. And I want you to become extra conscious of how this feels through your head today. So you can go very, very slowly. And I want you, instead of just noticing perhaps the more obvious sensations through the neck, through the shoulders, actually notice maybe the more subtle in the head itself. Perhaps noticing the sensations around your jaw, temples, your inner ears, within the cranium. And the next time you come back through center, if you haven't already, just switch directions. Feel the heaviness of your head. And again, keeping your observation from the space in the very center of your forehead. Try not to let judgment rise, but keep your mind clear, almost like how a child would observe or learn something for the first time. That's how we treat each moment. And then the next time your chin comes back through center, just bring yourself to a neutral position through the neck and just maybe roll out those shoulders a little bit. Notice how you're feeling through the neck. And then we're going to bring our hands forward. We're going to come to a downward facing dog. So from this position, bring your wrists slightly forward of your shoulders, bend your knees, lift your hips high. You can always find a nice little bit of pedaling in your first downward facing dog. But really, again, we want to make sure we're prioritizing the positioning through the head. So let your head relax down. Maybe a little shake of your head, no, nod, yes. Notice the tension through the back line of the neck. Notice how it feels to invert your practice. Notice how it feels for your head to be below your heart. There may be a sort of rush of energy or pressure in your head. If it gets too much, you can always come out. But otherwise, just familiarize yourself with that sense. Breathing in. As we exhale, we're going to come forward to a plank position, so shoulders over your wrists. And then we're going to drop down to a forearm plank. So elbows are shoulder width, forearms are parallel, so at 11. And then from this position, you can either stay with this forearm plank, or you can come back to a dolphin pose. So you may want to bring your feet in a little bit closer towards your elbows and keep protracting the scapula. Push those forearms into the earth. And now from this position, you may want to interlace your fingers, creating a triangle with a bit more strength and helping to rotate the shoulders. And your heels probably won't touch the floor in this one, but they're doing their best. You're reaching your sit bones nice and high. You may want to release your forearms, bring your hips forward again, bring your feet back into forearm plank, and then we're just going to lower down those hips, coming into a sphinx pose with your elbows under your shoulders, knees underneath, sorry, not knees under hips, elbows under your shoulders with your spine extended. And we're going to take a little bit of movement here through the neck. So I want you to, instead of letting your rib cage drop, see if you can keep your rib cage slightly engaged, lifting up towards the ceiling. And we're going to bring again the chin towards the right shoulder. Keep your low ribs drawing forwards. If there's any pressure in your lower back, bring your elbows forwards. Chin towards your collarbone. Hold there, but don't let your rib cage sag. Keep your rib cage lifted. Feel the sensation through the back of the neck, the tension in the head. And then bring your chin towards your left shoulder. Again, low ribs draw forwards, keeping the work in the upper back. Chin towards your chest. And this time maybe, only if it feels okay, lift your gaze up. So it's not overarching through your neck, but maybe just enough that you can see where the wall and the ceiling meets. Just moving your neck up a few degrees. Breathing in. As we exhale, release down. Bring your palms up by your shoulders, lift up into a tabletop or a plank position, and then tuck your toes into downward facing dog. From here, we're going to take another breath and exhale fully. As we inhale, we're going to lift the right leg up and back, and then as we exhale, step the right foot in between your hands in as many steps as you need. And we're going to move into a pyramid pose. So from this position, we're going to start to work the right leg towards straight. Now for many of us, the hands won't touch the floor in that position, so you can either keep a little bend in your knee, or you can bring your hands to blocks, or You can bring your left foot a little bit closer to your right so you can spin that heel down, and then with the hands to the hips, start to fold forwards from there, keeping your gaze forwards towards your toes. So there's a few options we can take, but we're keeping the spine nice and long. Shoulders relax. And this already here, for most of us, this is an inversion. The head is below the heart. But if you want to take it a little bit deeper, bringing a little bit more emphasis to that focus, to that balance, you can bend your right knee, track your right knee over your right ankle as you slide your left leg in, and then lift your left leg up for standing splits. Once you feel confident here, maybe bring your right hand to your right calf, maybe even bring your left hand to your right calf. Keep your gaze towards the right toes or off the tip of the nose. Don't hold your breath, maintain your breathing for 3, 2, 1. Bring your hands to the floor, see if you can land lightly with your right knee bent, and then back into pyramid pose. And then from this position, we're going to turn to the long edge of the mat and move into a wide leg forward fold. So I'm going to turn so you can see me better. Turn your right toes in, left toes in, and depending on the positioning of your legs, you may want them a little bit wider so they're more like a leg's length distance apart. Hands to the floor, or again, you can keep your hands to the hips here. And then as we exhale, we fold forwards, bringing the crown of the head down towards the earth. Start to shift the weight forwards into the toes, but we maintain the contact of the heels to the floor. Shoulders relax, elbows bend in at 90 degrees. Start to familiarize yourself with how it feels to bring some weight into the hands. If your head touches the floor, you can even start to familiarize yourself with how it feels to bring a tiny bit of weight into the head. Inhales, head up, look forwards, and then as we exhale, we're going to turn the right toes towards the front of the mat again. Bend your knee. If you want to take a flow, you can take one. Otherwise, we're going to just step straight back to downward facing dog. Remember, today's practice is not about deep energy building. Instead, it's about finding clarity and stillness of the mind. So slightly slower transitions today. On your inhalation, lift your left leg up and back. As you exhale, bend your left knee, step your left foot in between your hands into that runner's lunge. Moving into pyramids, we're going to straighten that left leg, or take a similar variation that you did on the other side. If you'd like to come into that standing splits, bend your left knee. Frame your left foot as you slide your right leg in, eventually bringing the chin towards the left shin, gaze towards the left big toe. Maybe taking your left hand towards your left calf. Only once you feel stable here, maybe also bringing your right hand towards your left calf. Don't hold your breath. Exhale, bring your hands to frame your left foot. Lightly step back into pyramid pose. Inhale, head up. And then as we exhale, once again, we turn towards the long side of the mat. And you can do exactly the same as you did on the other side. Or perhaps this time, you either maybe want to take your peace fingers towards your big toes, elbows hug in towards your shins, or if tripod headstand is in your practice, you can come into the same position you did on the previous side, but this time we bring the crown of the head to the floor. Now it's really important that you want to maintain a really strong position here through the hands, so you're not bringing all the weight into the head, and that you should already have a strong headstand practice if you're going to attempt this. But if you do, you can start to shift the weight forward into the head, pike your legs up with your legs wide. If you'd like, you can keep your legs wide, or you can bring your feet to touch over the top of your head. When you're ready to come out, bring your legs wide again. Seeing if you can lower down with control, back into that wide leg forward fold. And we'll just hold here for a moment. Don't lift your head up suddenly if you did that headstand. Well, don't lift your head up suddenly anyway. Just take a breath here. Then inhale, head up very gently. Exhale,
Inhale, now turn your left toes towards the front of the room. Pick up your right heel, exhale, pyramid. And then from here, inhale, bring your left knee over your left ankle, and then step back to downward facing dog. Take a breath in. And exhale, drop to your knees. We're going to come into a different variation of headstand or headstand prep. So headstand is one of those poses that's really, it's challenging for so many people. And this is usually a mental resistance. For me, it was definitely a mental resistance. Most people have got the strength, the mobility in the shoulders to at least do the prep work. And it's only this idea, this fear of being upside down, this mental clutter and expectation that prevent us from doing that. That in mind though, there is no anatomical benefit from headstand that you can't get from the prep positions. So do notice when it's your ego trying to tell you to do something and whether it's really something you need in your practice today. So with that, I'm going to offer you lots of variations for this pose. So the first option is to take a child's pose. Now there's a specific position through the shoulders that we work with bound headstand that's really nice and safe. You take opposite hand to tricep. So you wrap your arms around you wrap your palms around the tops of the arms, interlace fingers, and then tuck the bottom pinky finger inside your palms. From this position, for a traditional headstand, you would either have your palms open, cupping the back point of your head, or palms closed with your wrists towards that same point. Now this movement of protracting your scapula, pushing those forearms away, can be done with or without the head. You don't even need your head to do this same work for the headstand. So find this, protract your scapula, push the arms away. And as I mentioned, this can be done from a child's pose. And you can just find this position, or you can stick with maybe a tabletop, which is a good halfway position. So with that same position through the arms, you come onto your knees and your elbows and you protract your scapula. You push those forearms into the earth. You can do this a couple times, finding that strength. Keep your low belly gently engaged. If you want more work, you can come into that dolphin plank or dolphin pose. So pushing the forearms away. And again, finding that strength. Arguably, this is going to be better for you than headstand ever will be. So find that strength. If you do want to come into headstand, be really mindful, okay? The same position through the arms, same position through the shoulders. We're pushing the earth away, but now we put the head just in between your hands, or you cup the hands to the back of the head. You want very little to no weight on the head, so you're pushing your forearms into the earth enough that your head is very light to the floor. Once this feels good, you can start to lift your knees up. Maybe you stay with this position today, or walk your feet in. Now it's really important, we don't want to kick up to a headstand. We want to bring one knee to one armpit to the point where the second foot, it just floats off the floor, second knee to second armpit. You'll probably spend a while here getting familiar with this pose first, but once you feel stable, you can start to bring your shins up towards the ceiling. And once you feel stable here, you can start to bring your legs up towards the ceiling. Now you don't have to hold this for the full expression of the time. So if you're still in your forearm plank, you can take a rest, but we are going to be here for another few breaths. So if you want to come back in, or if you want to try a headstand, or you want to try a different variation, please feel free. If anyone's pretty confident with their headstand practice and you'd like to pike, you can start to shift those hips back, keeping your legs ultimately straight. Bring them down towards halfway. You should be able to just see your toes now. Holding for another breath or two. And then bring your legs back up, maybe, or maybe not. And then we see if we can come out with control, either the same way we came in with the legs bent, or again, you can slowly pike those legs down. And then we drop to child's pose, and we all hold in child's pose. Relax. And if nothing else, hopefully you're feeling a little bit more blood into your brain, into your mind. And the wonderful thing about headstand is that it's a natural brain declutterer. because there's nothing else you can think about when you're upside down other than trying to stay balanced. And so your mind clears, even if just for a few moments. But we must be careful that we don't start to tell ourselves story based on ego. And that goes for you if it's really easy for you. We need to check those egos, check those stories. And from this position, we're going to make our way down onto our backs. So you can either just kind of rock up and bring your legs out in front. If you really want to take a vinyasa, you can. Otherwise, just bring your legs out in front and come to lay down on your back in a position that feels comfortable for you, either legs long, arms alongside your body, or your knees can be bent with your feet mat width distance apart. Just let go of the control of your breathing, let go of the control of your body, and just relax. Once again, we want to bring our awareness to that space just in the center of the forehead, the third eye center. And you can almost imagine your consciousness, your awareness looking out of this space, this window of the mind. And for each of us, this little window is going to look so different. You can imagine it as a beautiful stained glass with fantastic rainbow assortment of colors. But we need to remember that we all see the world through this filter. Through our emotions, through our stories, through our conditioned existence, our samskaras. And we'll notice that everything we see is filtered. It's impossible for it not to be. And through some observation, we can notice that parts of this begin to disappear as we become aware of the biases we see through the world, through our lens. But for many of us, for majority of cases, it doesn't disappear, this filter. We just become aware of it, this filter of the mind. And so, for example, you may notice some emotions filter the window of the mind. You can imagine this as a red stained glass, if you'd like. And everything you see through that red filter. And as your emotions transition, so too does the color, the perspective through which you see the world. But as long as we see the filter for what it is, we can remember that the world outside is a place of non-judgment. We can find clarity of our mind. And over time, we can see these filters for what they are. And we can create clarity through all of our neural pathways, creating more concise direction, embodying the Aquarius energy, creating intellect and creativity of a free mind. And so as we rest here for a little bit longer, you can imagine again, visualizing yourself, your consciousness looking out through the window of your mind. Or you can repeat to yourself the affirmation. With a clear mind, I see the world with a fresh perspective. With a clear mind, I see the world with a fresh perspective. I encourage you please to stay resting here, or perhaps follow up your new moon with your new moon intention setting, welcoming in a brand new lunar year. I hope that however you're deciding to spend this time, you have a clear head and you are able to consciously decide how you best choose to serve yourself, spend your energy at this time. Thank you all so much for joining me. Namaste.